A woman at the market in the valley told me she pays $68 a month for premium organic dog food. The bag had a picture of green pastures and happy chickens on the front. She had never once read the ingredient list on the back. I have spent more than 50 years working dogs in these mountains. Livestock guardian dogs that sleep with the flock in the snow. Herding dogs that move 300 sheep up to the summer pastures and back down again. In half a century, I have never bought a single bag of commercial dog food. I feed my dogs for about $6 a month. Today, I will show you exactly how. My name is Elias Marek. I am 68 years old, and when I read the ingredient list on that woman's $68 bag of dog food right there at her table, here is what I found. The first three ingredients were chicken meal, corn gluten meal, and brewer's rice. Chicken meal is a polite way of saying they took whatever was left of a chicken after the good parts were removed, ground the bones and connective tissue into powder, and called it protein. Corn gluten is a waste product from corn syrup manufacturing, and brewer's rice is broken rice fragments too small and too damaged to sell to humans. She was paying $68 a month for that, and she is not the only one. Before I give you the recipe, you need to understand what you are actually paying for when you buy commercial dog food, because once you see it, you will not unsee it. The pet food industry in America pulls in over $50 billion a year. That is not a typo. 50 billion. And the largest pet food companies are owned by the same corporations that make candy bars and breakfast cereals. They are not in the business of animal nutrition. They are in the business of selling you the cheapest possible product at the highest possible markup. Here is how it works. When a slaughterhouse processes cattle, pigs, or poultry for human consumption, there are parts left over that cannot legally be sold to people. Organs that failed inspection, bones, hooves, feathers, beaks, sometimes even animals that were dead before they arrived at the processing plant. All of that leftover material gets sent to a rendering facility where it is cooked at extremely high temperatures until it turns into a dry powder or a thick grease. That powder gets labeled meat meal or poultry byproduct meal on the back of your dog food bag. That grease gets sprayed onto the kibble to make it smell appealing enough that your dog will eat it. And here is the part that bothers me most. The cheaper the dog food, the more honest it tends to be about these ingredients. It is the expensive brands, the ones charging you $50, $60, $70 a bag, that hide behind clever wording. Terms like farm-raised protein blend and natural flavor and animal digest, which is a material produced by chemical or enzymatic breakdown of animal tissue. That is the actual industry definition. They print that on the bag and charge you a premium for it. But here is the detail that explains why your dog might be scratching all the time, or dealing with ear infections, or having loose stool. Most commercial dog foods are between 40 and 60% carbohydrate filler, corn, wheat, soy, and various starches that a dog's digestive system was never built to process in those quantities. Dogs are facultative carnivores. Their bodies run on animal protein and fat with some plant matter mixed in. Feeding them a diet that is mostly grain is like putting regular gasoline in a diesel truck. It will run, but not well and not for long, so that is what you are paying for. Rendered leftovers, chemical preservatives to give it a shelf life measured in years, and enough carbohydrate filler to make it dirt cheap to produce, all wrapped in a bag with a golden retriever running through a meadow on the front. Now I will show you what I feed my dogs instead. This recipe has been in my family longer than I have. My father fed his dogs a version of it before me, and his father before that. 3 generations of shepherds feeding working dogs on real food. Understand what kind of work I'm talking about. My guardian dogs stay out with the flock all night in rain and snow, facing down wolves. My herding dogs cover more ground in a day than most people walk in a week. Not one of them ever needed a prescription diet or a special allergy formula from the vet. A dog that cannot hold its condition does not survive. A winner up here. The food has to work. This food works. Here are the ingredients. The base is about 5 pounds of chicken leg quarters. I get them for around 89 cents a pound, sometimes less on sale. That is your protein, and it is real protein, not a powder made from beaks and connective tissue. 2 cups of brown rice, not white. Brown rice keeps the bran and germ intact, which means fiber, B vitamins, and slow-burning energy that holds up through a full working day. 3 medium sweet potatoes chopped into cubes, and a 2-pound bag of frozen mixed vegetables, carrots, green beans, and peas. Frozen is actually better than fresh for this recipe because the blanching process makes the nutrients easier to absorb in a dog's shorter digestive tract. Now, this next ingredient is the one that separates this from every basic chicken and rice meal floating around the internet. Half a pound of chicken livers. Organ meat is where the real nutrition lives. A wolf eats the organs first before it touches the muscle meat. It knows something most dog owners have forgotten. Liver is loaded with iron, vitamin A, B vitamins, and essential fatty acids that your dog cannot get from muscle meat alone. Most grocery stores sell chicken livers for around $1.50 per pound. Some butchers will hand them over for free because hardly anyone asks for them. 2 whole eggs, shells and all. You are going to crush those shells into a fine powder and mix them right into the food. Eggshells are almost pure calcium carbonate, which is exactly what your dog needs for strong bones and teeth. People spend money on calcium supplements for their dogs when the answer has been sitting in their kitchen the whole time. And finally, 1 tablespoon of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar, the kind with the cloudy material floating at the bottom called the mother. It contains beneficial bacteria and enzymes that support healthy digestion. A $3 bottle will last you months. Total cost, depending on your local prices and what is on sale, comes to roughly $6. That is 1 month of food for a 50-pound dog. Now the cooking. It takes about 90 minutes from start to finish, and most of that time is just waiting while everything simmers on the stove. Fill your largest stock pot about 2/3 full with water and bring it to a boil. While the water heats up, chop your sweet potatoes into small cubes. You do not need to peel them. The skin breaks down during cooking and adds extra fiber and nutrients. Once the water is rolling, drop in all 5 pounds of chicken. Let it boil for about 40 minutes until the meat is falling off the bone. While the chicken cooks, rinse your brown rice under cold water in a strainer to remove the excess starch. After 40 minutes, pull the chicken pieces out and set them on a cutting board to cool, but do not dump that broth. That broth is full of collagen, minerals, and natural gelatin from the bones. It is the single most nutritious part of this entire recipe, and most people pour it straight down the drain without thinking twice. Add the brown rice and sweet potato cubes directly into that same broth. Stir once, bring it back to a simmer, and let it cook for 30 minutes. While the rice is going, start pulling the chicken off the bones with your hands or 2 forks. Get every scrap of meat. Throw the bones away. Cooked chicken bones splinter, and they can kill a dog. Never feed a dog cooked bones. 50 years with dogs, and I have seen what happens when someone gets careless with this. Once was enough. While you are shredding, take your chicken livers and chop them into small pieces about the size of your thumbnail. Crack your 2 eggs into a bowl, then crush the shells in your hands over the same bowl until they are as fine as you can get them. A coffee grinder works for this too, but my hands have been doing the job for 50 years and they are not done yet. When the rice is tender, add the frozen vegetables, the shredded chicken, the chopped livers, and the egg mixture with the crushed shells. Stir everything together and let it simmer on low heat for another 10 minutes. Then take it off the stove and stir in your tablespoon of apple cider vinegar while everything is still warm. The vinegar goes in last because the heat would kill the beneficial bacteria if you added it earlier. One pot, $6, 90 minutes, done. Once the food cools to room temperature, portion it into freezer-safe containers. I use old ice cream containers because they are free and the right size. Each one holds about 4 to 5 days worth of food for a 50-pound dog, and you will get roughly 6 containers out of one batch. Keep one in the refrigerator for the current week. Stack the rest in the freezer. Every 4 or 5 days, pull a new container out the night before and let it thaw in the fridge. You are not measuring anything. You are not running to the store. You are just feeding your dog real food on a schedule that takes care of itself. If this is useful to you, hit subscribe. I share what 50 years in the mountains has taught me about dogs every single week. All right, the recipe is one thing. The results are what matter. And this is the part that surprises people the most. The first change you will notice is the coat. Within about 2 weeks of switching to this food, your dog's fur starts to feel different, softer and thicker. If your dog has dry, flaky skin or dull, brittle fur, that is almost always a nutrition problem, not a grooming problem. The natural fats from the chicken and the liver, combined with the vitamins from the sweet potatoes and vegetables, give your dog's body the raw materials it needs to grow a proper coat. My guardian dogs grow a winter coat thick enough to sleep in the snow at -20. That coat is built from food, nothing else. I have seen dogs with patchy, thinning fur come back looking like a different animal in about 6 weeks. The second change is digestion. If your dog has inconsistent stool, gas, or occasional vomiting after meals, switching to whole food usually clears that up within the first week. This is not because commercial dog food is poison. It is because your dog's body has to work extremely hard to pull nutrition out of highly processed kibble loaded with fillers and preservatives. When you feed them actual food, recognizable ingredients that have not been ground into powder and pressed into little brown pellets, their digestive system just works the way it was built to. The third change is energy. Not the frantic kind, steady, sustained energy through the whole day. Dogs eating high-carbohydrate commercial food have energy spikes and crashes, the same as people who eat too much sugar and starch. They bounce off the walls for an hour after eating and then lie flat by afternoon. A herding dog that crashes at noon is useless to me. On whole food with quality protein and slow carbohydrates, their energy flattens out. Alert when they need to be, resting when it is time to rest. And the fourth change is the one that adds up over the years. Vet bills. I am not a veterinarian and I am not giving medical advice, but in 50 years of working dogs, my vet visits have been almost entirely routine checkups, the occasional injury from the work, and vaccinations. The chronic problems that follow pet dogs everywhere today, the allergies, the skin trouble, the ear infections, the dental disease, the obesity, I simply do not see them in my dogs. And I have known enough shepherds and mountain families who feed this way to know my experience is not unusual. Now, some of you are wondering whether homemade food is really nutritionally complete. Dogs ate scraps and hunted their own prey for thousands of years before the first bag of commercial kibble showed up in the 1950s. The dogs guarding flocks in these mountains have done it for centuries on whey, bread, and whatever the shepherd could spare, and they grew into some of the strongest working dogs on earth. The pet food industry has spent 70 years convincing people that dogs cannot survive without their products. Think about that for a moment. Thousands of years of real food. Then suddenly, a dog needs a factory pellet to be healthy. This recipe covers the important bases: animal protein, organ meat, complex carbohydrates, vegetables, calcium from eggshells, and beneficial bacteria from apple cider vinegar. If you want to be thorough, and I respect that, talk to your vet about adding a fish oil supplement for omega-3 fatty acids. That is the one place this recipe could use help, especially for dogs with joint issues or inflammation. Old working dogs get stiff. I know the feeling. The other objection I hear is time. 90 minutes once a month. I have spent longer than that digging one sheep out of a snowdrift. That is 2 episodes of television to feed your dog real food and keep $40 to $60 in your pocket. If you have a puppy, increase the chicken and liver relative to the rice and add a second egg per batch for extra calcium. For senior dogs over 8 or 9, reduce the rice and increase the sweet potato. For large breeds, double the batch. My guardian dogs weigh well over 100 pounds, so I always cook double. Even doubled, it comes in around $12. And if your dog will not eat it at first, that is normal. Commercial kibble is engineered to trigger an intense feeding response. They spray it with flavor enhancers and animal fat for exactly that purpose. Mix a little of the new food in with the old, increase the ratio slowly over a week, and by day 10 or 11, your dog will look at you like you just handed them a lamb shank. That $68 bag of premium dog food with the happy chickens on the front. The woman from the market went home, read the ingredients, and called me 2 days later. She was angry, and she had a right to be. She made her first batch of this recipe that weekend. Her dog ate it faster than anything that ever came out of a bag. The whole thing cost her $5.80. Your dog works hard for you. Maybe that work is guarding a flock through the night. Maybe it is just being glad to see you when you walk through the door at the end of a long day. In my experience, it is the same loyalty either way. They deserve real food. And you deserve to keep your money instead of handing it to a company that puts corn syrup waste in a bag and calls it nutrition. If you want the complete version of this recipe, plus 12 more recipes for dogs with allergies, joint issues, and sensitive stomachs, everything I have learned in 50 years of keeping working dogs healthy on real food, get a copy of the Shepherd's Dog Savings Manual through the link in the description. I will see you in the next one.